Hello everyone, this is my video for the distributive rule. Distributive rule. Sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? But it's really not. This is what we did in the last class, this table here. When you see a little 2 above a number or a symbol, it means whatever that is multiplied by itself. And whenever you see a little 3 there, it just means multiplied by itself a second time as well. So there's 3 of them, and here there's only 2. So this little number here is, I can't get the whole number. Yes, I can. That little number there, that 2, is called the power of x. So the power of x is 2, and in the second one here, the power of x is 3. Well, the power of 2 is 6, and the power of 3 is 5. That's how to say that in English. But I guess what we want to know is how to do it. When we see something like 6 squared, we can think of it like 6 times 6, and the answer to that would be 36. And if we have 6 times 6 times 6, it's 36 times 6, which is 216. Phew, tough one for this time of day. I've given you 3 questions to do here, exactly the same as that. So can you write it down properly and type it into the computer? Otherwise, you'll just forget this immediately. Right, now, this is where we start the new stuff, the distributive law. It's kind of dancing, all these numbers dancing in front of your eyes, and it kind of looks hard to see, doesn't it? But I'll go through it with words, might help. If you have a question 2 times 4, we can say, well, 4 is the same as 3 plus 1. So if we find this too hard, which obviously we're not, because that's an easy one, we could change it to make it look like 3 plus 1. And then it would be 2 times 3 plus 2 times 1. 2 times 3 plus, because there's a plus in the middle, not a minus, 2 times that second one there. So 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 1 is 1, add them together, you get 8. And it can make multiplications easier. For example, if you have 8 times 13, you can break the 13 down into 10 plus 3. So 8 times 10 is 80, and 8 times 3 is 24. Add them together, you get 104. Right, so I've given you 3 questions like that, but I've already changed the second number for you. Please try and do it this way. I know you're able to do those in your head anyway. But there were some questions one day where you can't. Now, these questions, I didn't do that. I didn't break down the second number for you. So you're going to have to do it yourself. So in this yellow area, you're going to have to put a new equation and say, well, that equals, and what do you think it's going to be equal? Well, we could change the 6, but 6 isn't a big number, so we'll leave it. 6 times, and then you need to put in the brackets there, and 32 is 30 plus 2. And then you have to work that out, which I will do for this one question. 6 times 30 is 180, and 6 times 2 is 12. Add them together, and you get 192. So you have to do the whole thing on those, but there's only a few questions. Bye-bye. Okay, you can do this with X's and Y's and A's and B's, not only with numbers. Now, you should have studied this a little bit before, but if you haven't, I'll try to explain it in the class tomorrow. If you see x times x cubed, you have to add the 2 powers of the x's. And if there's no power there at all, there's no little number by the x, then it's just a 1. So x times x cubed, we could invent a little power to make it easier for us to see, but x to the 1, that's just x anyway. So you won't see that little 1 there. But when there isn't anything, just imagine there's a 1. So add those 2 numbers up, 1 and 3, you get 4. You can only do it if these are both x's or both 2. They've got to be both the same thing. If they're different numbers, he can't just add these powers together. Okay, but in this case they are, because they're both x. So it's going to be x because they're both x, and then you add the 1 and the 3 and you get the 4. And then it's x times 20, which we write down 20 times x. We write the number first and not the x first. So please work those out. And then the next table these are exactly the same questions. But now I tell you what number x is. And you have a choice now, because you could either say, well, okay, let's take out the x's and put in 2 in here, or you can take out the x's here and put in the 2. So I'll repeat that. Because we know that this equation here is the same as this equation here, because we worked it out in the same question in the table before. The only difference is now we know what x is. So we can put that 2 instead of the x here, or we could put it instead of the x there, because the two equations are the same. So choose whichever is the easiest, and then work out what number that is. Why is it 56? Because that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. There's 4 2's. So that's like 4 times 4, which is 16. And then 20 times 2 is 40. And it's a plus in the middle, so we add them and we get 56. So there's only a few questions like that as well. And that's the end. Okay, we have done quite a few things this week with maths that you've either forgotten or is quite difficult for you. So please stay with it. There's not that many questions, and it'll be good for you in the end. Anyway, I'll see you in class tomorrow, everyone. Bye-bye.